Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Slow Blink Anime Podcast. This is Phil.
This is Candace.
And today we are talking about episode 76 of My Hero Academia. It's called Infinite 100%. And oh my goodness, this was a good episode.
It is. It's I can't, no words to explain how amazing it is.
We were so excited for this all week, and we were waiting for it.
It's so good. It's so freaking good. And this is going to be a long podcast video. We already feel it. We already know. We haven't even started. But
got a lot to say today. So
much. And we're going to need some of y'all's help on some of the discussions here. Because it's some parts of it are kind of confusing, and I have a feeling we're gonna have to have a little argument here.
Yeah, it was like an irrelevant part of the show too, but we were really confused about what happened. But just a quick summary of this episode. So it's episode 76. It's a continuation of Deku confronting Overhaul, and it's the climax of this arc. And this is kind of wrapping up everything. And we also get to see Deku use his full power of his quirk. And I do have a question about this later that I need to ask you and see what you think.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get into it.
Okay. So it's a continuation of Saving Eri. And it starts off with the dragon hero, Froppy,
Ochaku.
Uraraka.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Nejire, right?
Yeah, they're all up top.
Yes.
Still fighting that one guy from the...
Yes, Nejire is the one of the top 3 students of UA, correct? Yep. She's the girl.
Yep.
Okay. And so it starts off with them showing that they have caught the villain, the big villain, the one who turned into this giant when this whole thing started.
Yeah, Rikiya, I think that's what his name is. Yeah, Rikiya.
Yes. Rikiya Katsukame is his name.
Yeah, so they got him handcuffed up there. And then
he's tied in with his whole body.
Yeah, his whole body's all confined, and then all of a sudden he gets the drug activates the one that's been boosting all the quirks. And then he busts out, and he's only able to because his quirk got enhanced, and he's able to suck in the energy from everybody around him. He didn't even have to touch them.
The way his quirk works is that he sucks he inhales the life force or the life energy of everybody around him but the thing is he has to touch them. But with the drug boosting his quirk this time, he doesn't even need to touch anybody to inhale their life force. And so that's what was happening. And so they thought they got him, but then the drug kicks in. He just sucks the life of everybody. Yep. And then so that's like a whole nother ordeal for them that they have to deal with. And then so the main people that, try to stop him was...
Ruki is the one that's mainly holding him off, the dragon hero. Yeah. And then Ochako and Froppy are both weak, but they still get in the fight. And then Nejire was also fighting.
Yes. And it seems like the ones who were least affected by this were Nejire and the dragon hero.
Ruki, yeah.
Yeah. And then so... but anyway, they ended up catching him. They have to tie him down or hold him down. I mean, it was quite a fight, but they have to hold him down, and then Nejire was the one who she used her quirk
and then we get that appearance by what's supposedly Deku that shows up and tells them that they need help, and they told the location of where Overhaul was, and that they all needed help, and the heroes were trapped down there. So that's why Ochako floated everybody up, and that's how they were able to break through the ceiling down there and get to where the real Deku was. Because we found out later that was just Himiko using her quirk to disguise herself as Deku.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the more complicated things, I wanted to kind of just mention Nejire's quirk, and it's called Surge. And it converts her own life force into energy. And then that energy is what she uses to shoot out as a shock wave. And it explained that I'm guessing it's not perfected yet. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like spiral, and that's why it's slower.
Yep.
But anyway, so that's her quirk.
Yeah, her quirk's pretty cool. And I think that's what's letting her be able to fly, too. That's what's helping her fly. It's just shockwaves coming out from the bottom.
Well, that's pretty cool.
That's just what I'm thinking. But because I've always seen her flying when she's been on the screen and in her hero outfit.
It could be. Okay, so there's that. And
the next part is just the part that we really needed some help with, because I was confused about how this happened. So, Himiko and Twice escaped from underground, right? This is what they're explaining. And they escaped with the help of Mr. Compress.
Okay, hold on. Just to start off, where are they first?
They're underground.
They're underground,
yes.
Correct. Okay, and then what happened? How did they come out of that underground?
In the anime, Twice said that he made a copy of Mr. Compress and that they used Mr. Compress's quirk to escape out of there from underground.
Okay. Right. And Mr. Compress, to understand everything, what is Mr. Compress' quirk?
It is compress, so anything he touches, it's in a certain like circular area, gets compressed into a marble. So he has to touch it.
Okay.
That's his quirk.
And so the marble, how do you understand, how did he use the marble? He used the marble to contain Himiko and Twice, or do you think he used the marbles to dig a hole up?
That's what I was confused, because he had two marbles. In the anime, it showed two marbles, like, digging. So I think... And then I had to reference the manga, too. So it looked like he turned... I don't know. I just don't understand. I really don't understand. Because in the anime, it made it seem like Himiko and Twice were turned into marbles. And they were going through, like, the tunnel. Right? And that's how they escaped. In Mr. Compress's quirk. But they didn't really show how he was using the quirk to dig the tunnel or anything. They just showed him on land.
Yeah. Like from underground and then they're on land.
Yeah. But then I looked at the manga, and it was like a little diagram that they showed in the panel. So they escaped through a tunnel, and it shows Twice, Mr. Compress, and Himiko in like human form. And it showed like circular indentions leading out. So it made it seem like they were all in their human form, and Mr. Compress was just... The clone that Twice made, Mr. Compress, was using his quirk like on the ground to compress it and dig a tunnel. That's what it seemed like. But in the anime, they made it seem completely different. Like it was...
The marbles digging down.
Yeah, I didn't understand. Yeah, if y'all...
Okay, now, hold on. Now that I'm thinking about it, now that while you're talking, it's processing in my head... Why would they need Mr. Compress quirk to get out of there? Why can't they just use their own quirk? I mean, they're strong enough to probably punch the wall up or the ceiling up.
It was a lot of ground that they went through because they were really far underground. And they're just like Himiko's quirk's not like a powerful quirk. It's like a skill mostly, and Twice is like a skill also.
Well, that's true, but why can't Twice? He could have created somebody like physically strong. Like why does he have to use Mr. Compress specific quirk, the marbles, when he could have created somebody that he knows has the physical power to just punch their way up there? Like why specifically the marble?
I don't know.
You get what I'm saying?
I guess. Maybe he doesn't know any... Because you remember how he had to have certain specifications? Maybe he didn't know anybody that was powerful enough.
I'm pretty sure he had met so many villains out there that, he could use.
There's not really a power quirk in the League of Villains. It's just...
Or even heroes that he had met.
But he would have to know, like, very specific. How is he going to get that information?
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what we're confused about. If y'all have any If y'all understood that better than we did, we'd really appreciate y'all letting us know.
Because the way I understood it, is that, okay, so Himiko and Twice are underground.
Okay.
Right? So Twice, I don't know, for some reason they can't dig themselves up. So here comes Twice. He thinks of Mr. Compress. And then so he then creates a clone of Mr. Compress.
Yes.
So now this clone of Mr. Compress uses his marbles to shrink both of them, to shrink Twice and shrink Himiko. And then while he's carrying the two of them as a marble, as two marbles, he then goes, digs his way up, and then when they got up on the surface, he releases them on the surface.
Yeah, but the only thing about that was, why would he need to turn them into marbles while he was digging?
Maybe
he's in his full form digging, right? So they could just be behind him. Why would they need to be turned into marbles?
Maybe it's less, what do you call it? Like, it's easier to move around when there's less people. And then, like what you said, both of their quirks are more like skills rather than, breaking stuff. And so... Yeah,
but Mr. Compress was bigger than both of them.
No, but I mean, but he's by himself.
Yeah.
Like, it's easier to move when you're by yourself than you're carrying two other people behind you.
I mean, he's not doing anything. He's just digging. He's up front digging. Well, like, that's what I was confused too, because I thought about that. Why would he need to turn them into marbles? They could just be behind them. It doesn't matter how far behind they are, as long as he's ahead of them. They just follow the path too.
Well,
see what I'm saying?
Maybe.
I think it's just he just helped him escape, like the very first way I explained it. How he was behind, they were behind him, and he was using the quirk to make the tunnel. And the way they explained it in the anime was just really fast, and they didn't go into depth.
I don't know.
If y'all want to look at what I'm looking at, it's chapter 156. It's page 7 or 8, depending where you're reading it. But it's like the middle of the page. It shows you the diagram where they're in all human form, from what I can tell from the diagram that how Twice is explaining it. So that's what I'm going with. But please correct us if we're wrong. Definitely correct us.
I just need some clarification. Yeah. Like, I just want enlightenment.
Somebody's got to know.
Somebody's got to explain it better than we do. Somebody's got to, have watched it multiple times, or have read it, and they understood better than how my freaking brain works.
Yeah. Anyway. That was our dilemma that we were having. We watched it for like 30 minutes, the same part of the anime, and we were talking about this ahead of time, but we still couldn't figure it out. But anyway, let's just keep going.
Oh my gosh.
So we're back at Deku with Overhaul. They're down in that basement area, and they're still fighting, and Overhaul knocks Eri up and himself up, and they're both on that platform, and Deku's jumping up towards them. And then we get that... I thought it was really emotional for Eri, this whole part, because she's kind of torn between whether she's going to go back with Chisaki and kind of just try to help everybody and just stay under him and be the good girl that he wants to be. Mm-hmm. Or kind of like go against him and let herself be helped by somebody else. Mm-hmm. Because I know during the whole time she was struggling... After that whole encounter with Deku and Mirio in the alley, she kept thinking about Deku and how his embrace really comforted her. Mm-hmm. So that's all she was thinking about. And then also, when they got shot up in the air in that pillar, Mirio's cape got shot up there too. And that, you could hear her talking and hearing Mirio's voice, how he was going to be her hero and take care of her. And that just, I think that helped her make the decision, because both of her... Like, the two people that first wanted to help her and cared for her were right there reaching out to her, is what she saw. Yeah,
and so she finally decided, you know what? I'm going to go with these two people. I want their warmth.
Yeah.
I want their care, so I'm gonna let them help me. Mm-hmm. And in turn, along the way, she was also helping mainly Deku. Really, Deku. And so she finally went with them.
She literally made the jump to go with them.
Are you okay? Yeah. So, well, at that point, when the ground was falling apart and Deku was desperately trying to reach to Eri, all the stuff that you've already said, it's just like a very warm, heartwarming moment. Mm-hmm. It's like,
especially with the music that was playing too, like it was really emotional music.
It's like that's like the turning point for Eri of her becoming independent, releasing herself from the chains. Yeah. And so as soon as she jumped to go to Deku, and as soon as Deku hugged her real tight and not letting go of her, that's the moment that we know nobody's gonna let go of Eri, and Eri's not gonna let go of them. And it was just, it's the best thing ever. Okay, so
and that's when we get that
along with that, so we got Eri and Deku reunited together, but now Chisaki's trying to shoot down on them, and he's just trying to get Deku. Well, he's trying to get Eri, so he's trying to get Deku to get Eri, and so Deku was becoming very desperate, and so he's trying to escape, but I guess he's not having enough power, and then because of his desperation, I guess because he knew that moment Eri's with him in his arms, he had to do everything that he needed to do. And so that's when we see something amazing.
That's when all Chisaki's attacks like just kind of whiffed and Deku just disappears. And then we get that huge shockwave of like the air pushing everything around. And like everybody was just down there and it like opened up that space. And then we just see Deku way up high in the air with holding Eri, and he's just freaking out like, how did I get up here?
And so he was unaware. This is just him. This is his own body telling him, do everything you can to get out of that situation. And so he's in the air, and he realizes that he unawarely used his 100% quirk.
Yeah, because he was comparing it to All Might's New Hampshire Smash. That's like the damage it was doing.
So it was like the New Hampshire Smash is, when he explained it, it's when All Might propels himself upwards. Yeah. And that's what he did.
That's how powerful the move is. Yeah. It can propel him backwards.
And so, backwards?
Oh, well, he used it backwards and how All Might was using it.
Okay, so, and so...
So he's thinking like before, how when he would use 100%, his body would just get torn apart. Okay, so he was like, my legs destroyed.
At that point, when you saw that, what were you thinking? Because I know for sure, for me, I know that, oh my gosh, how is he gonna land? Somebody has to catch them, because his limbs are gone for sure. I don't know what you were thinking at that time, but I was worried about them.
Well, I had mentioned it before that I had read this arc. I had it, but it's been a while since I read it, so I already knew the main point of what was going to happen.
So there's no conversation here.
Yeah, I'll let you explain. you could tell your thoughts, but I knew reading that the first time, it was very, like, I thought he was just going to tear his body apart, like how he was before, and just deal with the consequences. Because I knew he wasn't the type of person to just let Chisaki get away with whatever he was doing. He was going to protect her no matter what.
So, I swear to God, I thought somebody's gonna catch them. Somebody has to, because his limbs are gone. Just somebody. I don't know who, but somebody has to. And so, here they come. Deku's landing. But he lands safely. He lands on his feet. And I was like, what is happening? Yeah. And so, my first thought was Eri. It has to be Eri. Eri's the only person that she's very close with Deku, like physically close. Nobody else around them can help. So who else could have helped him? Eri. And so that's when we get explanation of what Eri's quirk is all about. And what was her quirk?
It was Chisaki described it as she can rewind time. That's how he described it.
And so
he was the whole time Deku was destroying his body using for that kick to get up there. All that happened was Eri used her quirk and healed Deku right away even before he could feel the pain, is what he said.
From what I understood, she did not really heal Deku. She reversed the damage. Yeah. And so and the way they explain is that the way her quirk works is that she reverses destruction from how I'm kind of...
She can reverse anything.
She can reverse anything. Oh, yeah, she can reverse anything.
Because she could, even reverse mutations in DNA, is what they described it. Because that's how they...
Yeah. So she reversed Deku's
injuries.
Injuries and damages. And then, but the problem now is Eri's still young and unable to control this quirk. And so Chisaki had mentioned that Eri's going to keep reversing your body. Mm-hmm. And then it's so dangerous that it can reverse you. It can make you turn you back to almost nothing.
Yeah. I think he said turn you back into an ape. That's what he said.
That's like one of his examples. Like Eri's quirk is so unique that a human it's possible for a human to go back to being an ape.
Yeah, and I think it helped us understand that more because I think right before that we get that explanation about how we found out what Eri's quirk was when she found out when she was little, because her dad touched her and he disappeared. Like all that was left was his clothes. Yeah. And we see that the Yakuza boss was describing it to Chisaki how Eri's mom abandoned her, and he was just saying how Chisaki's quirk was similar to Eri's quirk, and we understand how the extreme of what it can do, how it can just make a person just disappear completely.
Yeah.
But then that's how we also learned that Chisaki was doing all these experiments on her, mm-hmm. and horrible experiments, you could tell, because he knew what the quirk could do. And he was kind of taking advantage of that. Yeah,
and we saw how literally he was cutting Eri.
Yep, in that scene.
Every time Chisaki cuts Eri repairs herself. Mm-hmm. And so she reverses the damage that was done to her. And then he did more experiments, and then he discovered more and more things. And then that's when on that flashback we kind of get the idea of what Chisaki's plan was. Mm-hmm. For the Yakuza.
And then he kind of describes it himself too, right? What the whole thing with the drug was.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of seeing it unfold in the anime too, how he was gonna distribute the unfinished version of the drug first, and kind of get all the bad guys excited and
send it all out to them.
Yeah, make the heroes fearful of the drug.
Yeah.
And then once he's get the finished one, he'll sell that and then other weapons to the villains. That's what he said. And then he's gonna dangle
a serum.
He's gonna the cure for it, and he's gonna sell that to the heroes.
Yeah, it's like basically he's basically trying to play chess here, where he has all the pawns mm-hmm. controlled, and then he's trying to do this mind game to everybody.
He's got it set up where the Yakuza, no matter which side loses or which side wins, he would be on top. And he described it as him having a monopoly on this whole... He'd be...
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
I missed that part.
He would be in control of everything because he would have all the money from both sides. He would be probably influencing, especially the villain side, and they wouldn't be able to really go against anything they needed him to do. Either one, because if a villain had the quirks removed from important heroes, he's got the cure for it. And then same for the villains.
He did say himself that this is he's doing this to show everybody who's the boss. Mm-hmm. And so he's basically wanting to prove that they're the strongest and that that everybody else need to watch out for them.
Yeah.
And need to probably obey them.
And this strings from like further back from episodes before, how it mentioned, the heroes mentioned how the Yakuza really weren't as prevalent. Like they weren't evil groups anymore. They were just kind of, they weren't seen as villains is what they were saying. And they kind of lost power in the underworld. So after the grandfather, the Yakuza boss, brought in Chisaki, he kind of wants to prove himself and make himself worthy of, and showing his thanks and appreciation for bringing him in. So he's trying to find a way, anything he can do to really bring up the Yakuza's reputation. Yeah, right, bring it all back. And then we get that scene where he's talking to the Yakuza, the grandfather, about his plan with Eri. Do you remember that?
Yeah, like how he's going to manipulate Eri.
And that was just... Go ahead.
And yeah, no.
That was just... It shows you... Like, we knew he was a bad dude, but he really didn't care at all. Like, there was no human... like sympathy or empathy for Eri as a human being. What did he say?
Not really for anybody, because the boss had to remind him that Eri is a human being. Yeah,
he said, that girl is a person. Does that mean nothing to you?
Yeah.
That's what he said.
He did say that.
And that was just, even the Yakuza boss said that to him. Like one of the leaders of the underground world. And that just shows you how kind of messed up he was. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that was his...
Yeah.
I don't know how... Was it the environment that he got put into? Where he just needed to prove himself? Because he was... I'm not sure.
I feel like part of it is just his nature, and part of it, I guess, growing up in a Yakuza environment, thinking that Yakuza is supposed to be the strong people, the leaders of everything, and he's trying to keep that reputation. Yeah. And so when everything was going downhill for Yakuza, he's trying to bring back how it's supposed to be for them. Mm-hmm. But again, the boss didn't agree. So what did he do when he disagreed with him?
That's how we found out how the boss got bedridden and got sick, because Chisaki deconstructed him to make him ill.
Make him ill enough to be on a comatose. Yeah. But not ill enough for him to die. Yeah. So he controlled it a bit to where he can repair him back. That way, when he accomplishes all of his goals, he's going to wake him up again. And then he's going to show the boss all the achievements that he'd made. And so he basically wants to prove the boss that it's possible to do. He can make it happen. Yeah. And so that's what's happening now with the boss. Yep. And the backstory behind it.
Yep. But back to the present, it's with Overhaul. He just absorbed his companion. I can't remember his name. He absorbed him, and he got the huge power up where he had all those arms, and he just got into like this monster type form where his upper body was just hanging out the top of the beast. I don't know if that reminded you. Remember that it's in the first part of the Naruto anime where Gaara turns into like the Shukaku form after the tuning exam, and Gaara's just hanging out the top. Okay. That's what it reminded me of. Just like that. I was like, oh, that looks familiar. Well, it just made me think of that.
I don't remember that as much, but I guess so.
Yeah, the one-tailed, the beast, whenever, and then Naruto's fighting him. But anyway.
Yeah. So
we get he gets hugely powered up right there. And then that's when they're talking about Eri's quirk and how Chisaki was describing it as a curse.
Everybody else was describing it as a curse. Yeah.
And how dangerous it was.
I mean, Eri's family, parents thought that she's a curse. Her quirk is a curse. And then Eri comes into this Yakuza family, and Chisaki just calls it a curse as well. And so she grew up knowing that, or thinking that, basically her whole identity is a curse. And so with that being said, Deku over here becomes the knight in shining armor. Mm-hmm. And then when he knew what Aries' quirk is, he said that it's a blessing. Mm-hmm. And then we see Aries' tears.
Yeah. Because that's probably the first person to ever say anything like that to her in her life.
Yeah, and then so Deku said, it's a blessing. Will you help me out? Mm-hmm. Will you use your quirk on me? Mm-hmm. And so finally somebody that wanted her and trusted her with everything that she has. And then that's when it was just so heartbreaking. Yeah. But so we see that beautiful woman, and so Deku over here is starting to he figured how it happened, how his limbs are so fine. Mm-hmm. And so when he figured that out, he told Eri to help him out. And then maybe if since Eri cannot control her quirk, he thinks that all he has to do is keep damaging his own body. Mm-hmm. And then it'll keep working. He said
sustain it at a greater rate than the rewind. That's what he said.
Yeah. So
that was...
But
that's like, I know how to do that.
but Chisake over there, he keeps saying that he's done extensive research on Eri and Eri's quirk that nobody else can understand how to use Eri and how to use her quirk the proper way. And then Chisake was kind of like warning Deku that you don't know how her quirk works, so don't be an idiot. But anyways, Deku still, we know Deku. He does what he wants. Mm-hmm. And then so Deku went to Super Saiyan.
He's full cow 100%.
With his blue hair, everything, looking strong.
Yeah.
So 100%.
And he kicks Overhaul straight up into the sky.
And then so what we saw was this big, multiple punches on Chisake. Remember the golden punches that we saw? Uh-huh. And then after those punches, this one big, strong punch that finishes Chisake. Mm-hmm. And then Chisake's down, and we see Deku winning. And then all throughout this, Froppy, Night Eye, and Uraraka are all watching. And so Night Eye witnessed the future that can be changed.
Yeah.
Why do you look confused?
No, because it was really... That whole fight, it seemed really short, didn't it? That whole conclusion, it was like probably a minute, the whole thing.
Yeah, well, but when you think about it, they've been fighting all this time. So this is like the ending of the whole entire fight.
And it was really powerful because you could see the way he was moving in the air and how he was still holding on to Eri and not letting her go. And her power was just running on max, and he was running on max also. And he was able to maneuver. It looked like he was almost flying in the air and going faster than everything. And he was destroying Chisake's quirk, the reconstruction, faster than he can reconstruct things. Okay. And you can see like all the arms and all the parts of his body were just it didn't matter how massive or powerful he was, because Deku was definitely overpowering. And then that scene where he was about to punch him, you could see all the electricity and the power in the punch. And then as soon as he was about to hit, I don't know if it was that smile, the way he was smiling, it seemed kind of like this is my power, and I'm showing you what I can do.
Wait, what, like?
Right before he punched Chisake, you could see it in his face, even in the eyes too, because he's like, you're never going to touch this girl again. Mm-hmm. And you can see how they all just crashed to the ground. And the whole time, Night Eyes, like you said, was narrating it. He's like, and then...
he was watching this entire time.
And he's like, this is where Deku will be dead and Chisake escapes.
And he couldn't believe it himself, because I guess before, all of the future that he's seen had come true. Mm-hmm, everything. But this time... the future that he had seen for himself and Deku was supposed to be, both of them were supposed to be dead. But he sees Deku on his feet, and then Chisaki on the ground, not moving at all. And then so he thought to himself, well, crap, maybe we might just be able to change the future. And what were your thoughts when Night Eye was saying those words?
It was crazy because the way he said, he was like, I did not see this future. Because he was just so... It wasn't that he was upset that he didn't see this future, but he was given hope through Deku. Because if this future can be changed that I saw, does that mean other things that I've seen before can be changed? And it's just like, he's like, I didn't see this. Like, he got so excited and hopeful. And it's ended up being the student that he had so much disdain for at the beginning, and how he wasn't deserving of this All Might's quirk. That's the person that brought this hope back to Night Eye's life. And it was just, I got that feeling too when I was listening to it, because I got really excited. And just seeing how much it filled his heart to see that. Like, you could see he wanted to cry too. Like, it was just such a powerful moment.
What was running in my mind was, maybe we can cure All Might.
And I'm sure that's what he was thinking too.
That was the only and the first thing I thought of that Night Eye might have been thinking.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing that he's really worried about. That's the main reason why he doesn't want to use his quirk.
Yeah.
Is because he doesn't want to see anybody else die again. Like how All Might is supposed to die in his vision. And so when the panel was on Night Eye and he was saying all those things, the first thing I thought of, can we cure All Might and prevent the vision of him dying? And that was the only thing that was running in my head.
And you know what I just thought of?
What?
What about Aries' quirk?
Yeah, that's it. It's all because of Aries.
I didn't even think about that.
Yes. I thought that's what...
Yeah, this is where I stopped reading, so I don't know anything else that happens. But that's exactly... You're right. It's absolutely right.
I thought you were reading.
No, I didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know.
It was Aries. It's Aries basically the answer to everything that they've been asking for. Yeah. And, I mean, plus, Deku helping out. I mean, this is like, it's not just Eri. A lot of people have to contribute on it. Because if Deku didn't keep pursuing Chisaki or fighting for Eri, then it really probably would have come true. But because Deku persisted and it made Eri's mind change, that's how we can turn things. And Eri is the answer to, probably the answer to curing All Might. Is reversing the damages that's in All Might's body.
It makes so much sense.
Oh my goodness. I thought
No, this is like the last thing I read.
Oh my goodness. And you've read the manga.
Yeah. Well, this is like the last thing I read right here. I don't know anything else that happens. Like, once I saw this, I was like, I need to watch this. I'm just gonna wait.
No, but... Yeah, because as soon as they explained Aries' quirk, how it works, everything that was running in my head was, we can cure All Might. We can cure All Might. We can even cure Deku's limbs every time he fights. Yeah. If she knows how to control the quirk. So that's like another problem. Her learning to control her quirk. Yeah.
That was such a good episode. But you're right. That makes so much sense. But just to kind of wrap this up, I got a question for you and a question for everybody also. And I want to know what you think. So it explained in the episode that this was 100%, right? So is this 100% like I'm as powerful as All Might now? Or is this 100% of the Deku right now at this strength?
I feel like it's the Deku right now of his strength. Because if you compare it to All Might, there's just a whole bunch of differences. Because All Might, physically, without even using their quirks, just physically, All Might has been training all this time. He's been a pro hero all these years. He has all these experiences. And Deku, I mean, he's physically strong without the quirk, but he can always improve his own physical strength. And then that will contribute to his 100% quirk. You know, so I feel like it's 100% Deku right now. I don't think it's equivalent to All Might just yet.
That's what I think too. And I think once we get Deku training and after years of actual practice with a quirk, I think he's going to be even more powerful than All Might, because that's what the main basis of the quirk is. It's power accumulation when passing it down. He has to, because you know, when the first episodes of this anime, well, maybe, the first episode, I think the whole first season of this anime, in the intro he said, like, this is a story of how I became the greatest hero. And so he had to surpass everybody, even All Might. And so right now we are just seeing the process of him growing to become the greatest hero ever. Yeah, but I agree with you. I think that's what you said, the strength.
And I mean,
as he is right now,
that's not just the physical strength, like the mental too. Like,
he's not mentally ready.
I mean, thinking rationally, thinking what to do next. Because right now he's kind of like just impulsive.
Very impulsive.
You know, I think this is what we should do. I'll go for it. No need for none of these.
He doesn't think ahead
plans.
at all.
Yeah. And so, and just, you know, analyzing the situation and all that stuff, he still have a lot to improve that can contribute to his, 100% court. But I think that's it. Yeah,
it was a really great episode.
It was.
We've been saying that the past few ones. It was so good.
It's been the best. Yeah, it's been the best. And so, the next episode, we had a little teaser. It's like everybody recuperating from all the damages and healing through all the injuries that they gained, repairing the city back.
Yeah, it's all the aftermath of this battle. And they kind of teased how they were gonna talk to Mirio, because I'm really interested how they're gonna.
Eri probably can be used to bring back Mirio.
Maybe in the future, but remember, they haven't even developed the cure yet. Yeah. From what I understood, they might have, but
maybe they have talked about it and Eri heard it, and maybe she can give some insight on what they were, how they wanted the cure to be made, and then maybe it'll help give them some ideas on how it is made, and I don't know.
We'll see. But we'll see. We'll see next week.
We'll see you next week. Thank you all for listening to us. Please hit like and subscribe. And we also have a Facebook and Twitter and Instagram account. Go follow us and then listen to our podcast, to all of our podcasts.
Yep, all that is linked below in the comments and in the description.
We'll see you on the next episode.